Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a special part 2 open spoiler discussion of WandaVision Season 1, Episode 4. Of course, yesterday we did 3.5 hours of open spoiler discussion of WandaVision Episode 4, but we did not get anywhere near through all the questions that came in. And so I said we would pick up and get through all the rest of your questions that you guys sent in, and that's what we're going to do right now. Now, before we get into picking up with the questions, I noticed certain questions that came in yesterday. There were a couple of main themes that a lot of the questions were surrounding. So what I thought I would do is to start off this part 2 of this discussion is to cover a couple of the bigger topics off first, so that as we go through the questions, I can refer back to these, issues that have come up a lot. So let's get a lot of these out of the way right now. And we're going to start with, these are several of the common questions that I recognized yesterday coming in during the show, and what I thought we would touch on here quickly. Topic number 1, is that actually Vision's reanimated corpse? Number 2, who is the person in witness protection? Number 3, is Mephisto involved? And number 4, do I think Doctor Strange will cameo at the end of this season? Let's start with question number 1. Is that actually Vision's reanimated corpse? Now, of course, the big oh my God moment of the episode was when Wanda looked at Vision and she saw his dead body, with the stone ripped out of his head, the way Thanos left him. Is that actually Thanos? Is that actually Vision's corpse walking around? I don't think it is. Now, I explained this on the video yesterday, but here's the thing. We've all seen a million TV shows, right? We've all seen a million different TV shows and a million different movies where some person A is talking to person B. And then person A, who is feeling guilty about something or has something in their background, whatever, when they look at person B for a second, they see something else. They see the object of their nightmare, or the object of their guilt, or the object of their pain, or the object of their fantasy, whatever it is, right? And then they snap back to it and we're right back to normal. I think that is exactly what we had happen here. Now, I don't know that. We could get in episode 5 and I could totally change my mind on this after episode 5. But it seems to me that Wanda is not walking around and marionetting like Pinocchio Vision's dead body. I don't think that's what's happening. I think she just looked at him and is reminded of what her actual pain and grief is. That's my take right now after episode 4. My mind could change later on, but that's my mind on that right now. Okay. Second main topic we keep hearing from a lot of different people is who's the person in witness protection? Of course, Jimmy Woo shows up, played by Randall Park. That's what got this whole thing started. He shows up looking for one of their witness protection people who has gone missing in this town, and now nobody's heard of them. So who was the person in witness protection? Ultimately, I don't think it matters. I don't think there being somebody in Westview who happened to be in witness protection for the government, I don't think whoever that person is at all relevant to the story. I think all that was the plot device that first brought the FBI's attention to what was going on in Westview. And then, of course, once the FBI knew, by extension, SWORD knew, and of course, so sent Monica Rambeau. Oh, by the way, that's why I'm wearing my Captain Marvel jacket today. A little honoring of Monica Rambeau and her connection to Captain Marvel. Anyway, that's not important. And just like I don't think it's important who the witness protection person is, I don't think we're actually ever going to find out who the witness protection person was. Or if we do, it'll be nonsense. Now, again, that's just how I think about it right now after episode 4. Ask me again after episode 5, and I could feel very different, but that's where I'm at on that right now. All right, the third big topic that comes up is, of course, Mephisto. Now, this Mephisto isn't new to episode 4. The Mephisto theory is one that's come around a lot. I think there are very good reasons why some people will believe that Mephisto is a part of this. I'm still not buying into it, though. Now, again, I say that I'm not buying into it after watching 4 episodes. I might change my mind after watching episode 5, but for now, despite all the little hints and all the little winks, I still don't actually think Mephisto is part of this. As of right now, after episode 4, I still believe, as I've believed this whole time, that Wanda is the antagonist of the story, that this is all Wanda's doing. I'm not willing to bet money that there's not another person. And I could totally believe it's another person after episode 5, but for right now, that's where I'm thinking about it. All right. Last one we'll talk about here off the top so we can refer back to it as we go. Do I think Doctor Strange will cameo in this series? I do not. I don't think he will. There are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I don't see there being a big major star cameoing. I could see another character like Wu. I could totally, or Wong. I could totally see Wong appearing, and I would love it. Wong, hashtag justice for Wong. Wong deserves his own show. I love the Wong character. But I could see him maybe doing a cameo, or maybe another character from Spider-Man making a cameo. So that the other thing is this, is that the next chapter of this story, Kevin Feige said there's 3 parts to this story. There's WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange 2. The next chapter in this story isn't Doctor Strange 2. Spider-Man 3 comes next. Now, granted, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, will appear in Spider-Man 3, but we don't know how big of a role that will be, and that's kind of irrelevant. I still don't think Doctor Strange is going to show up. But again, that's only what I'm saying after 4 episodes. The beautiful thing about this being a series is that we can change new theories and everything as we go. But right now, that's where I'm at. So again, the 4 main questions, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of these, and I'll refer back to them as we go. Is that actually Vision's reanimated corpse? I don't think so. I think it's just kind of a guilt or a pain flashback thing. Who is the person witness protection? I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's important. I don't think it's going to become an issue. Number 3, is Mephisto involved? As of right now, I still don't think he is. Number 4, do I think Doctor Strange will cameo? No, I don't. Not impossible, but I think maybe another character will. So that's where we're at right now. Okay. With all that said, let's now start picking up with your comments, questions, theories, inquiries. Let's get back into it, shall we? And we're going to start things off here with the Wonder One, who writes, so, is Vision really dead? I knew this would come up again. And by the way, I have not read through the questions before we started this. So is Vision really dead? Yes, I believe he's 100% dead. I thought there's a chance he's alive because he seems aware and that something's off and no rewind when Wanda isn't around. No, again, I don't think Vision is alive. He is dead, I believe. And I believe what she has done is created a manifestation of Vision. We've seen other shows and other movies where a guy like lost his wife, a scientist lost his wife and created an android, and the android thinks she's his wife, and he never wants the android to know. I have a feeling that's what's going on here. You know, Wanda, the first person Wanda's trying to fool is Wanda. She's trying to keep herself, you know, high, if you want. She's trying to keep herself in that fantasy. But the most important person to keep herself convinced is to keep this manifestation of Vision convinced. And every time this Vision starts to put pieces of the puzzle together, wait a minute, something's wrong. She erases it, right? So that's kind of what I think there, Wonder One. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, well, 7 out of 10 for the first 3 episodes I liked. This one I felt was elementary and rushed. Hate the girl from Thor. Oh, I love Kat Denning. I love her. Thor: The Dark World, poor dialogue from her. I loved her dialogue. 2 of 2. I love the end with Wanda and everything she did. The dead-looking Vision moment, so creepy and so heartbreakingly sad. Like Rambo daughter, 6.5 out of 10. I don't know. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about all the art, right? It's all subjective. Like, to me, I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes. I've enjoyed them. But to me, episode 4 was the payoff so far. Episode 4 to me was the payoff of where we've come so far. And I just absolutely did. And listen, I get it. I know not everybody likes the Kat Dennings character. Like for me too, in The Dark World, I didn't love her in The Dark World. But I didn't love anything about The Dark World. But I loved her in Thor 1. And I really like her chemistry with Jimmy. But hey, man, I respect that. This one didn't quite work for you as well as the other ones. That's totally cool. For me, I thought this was kind of the payoff of the other 4. But it's good to have different points of view on it, a fan of Peanuts. And I'm glad you shared yours with me. Thanks a lot for that. All right, next up. Mitchell Pereira writes, let me get this straight. Wanda stole and then reanimated Vision's corpse? Oh, she's crazy, crazy. I don't think she did. I still think she's crazy, crazy. She's broken. I mean, Wanda is clearly broken. Right? That's beyond dispute right now. But again, going back to my whole discussion at the beginning, I don't think that's Vision's body. Not his literal physical dead corpse. But again, like I said in the show yesterday, if she's into, dead robot necrophilia, hey, I'm not judging. I'm not here to judge anybody. We've all got our things. Some people like alcohol. Some people smoke. Some people like having sex with dead robots. And we're not here to judge. We're not here to judge. But again, I don't think that's what the case is here, Michael. Or Mitchell, I should say. All right, thanks for sending that in. Next up, Jord MCHG writes, who do you think Agent Wu was looking for in witness protection? I told you this one would come up again. I think Agatha's husband, as she keeps mentioning him, but he's still not shown up yet. Again, I think it's irrelevant. Remember, witness protection just means you were a witness in something and had to be hidden away because being a witness was something. Again, I don't think it's important. I mean, it could very end up being that it's Ralph. Some people think Ralph is Mephisto, so there's that too. Ralph is the name of Agnes's husband that she keeps referring to that we haven't seen. But I mean, maybe he could be, maybe Herb is it, maybe Agnes is it, maybe Dottie's it, maybe any of them could be it, or maybe it's another character we haven't even met yet. But as of right now, I think it's completely inconsequential. I think the idea of somebody who was in witness protection was just the thing to start the story to get Jimmy there. And after that, everything snowballed. So that's what I think for now, Jord. We'll see what happens. All right. Kazam003 writes, love the opening scene. And by the way, congrats on the new house. Thank you very much. As you guys can see, we just moved into the new house yesterday. The studio is not yet fully together. I mean, we're in, the walls have been painted. The walls have been built. The new roof has been installed in here. The new flooring is in. Sound panels are on the wall. But clearly, there's still a lot of chaos behind me. We have not gotten that all going. Yes, the opening, I completely agree with you. The opening Kazam was fantastic. All right, and thank you for the well wishes. All right, Fan of Peanuts writes, so Wanda put consciousness in dead-bodied Vision. No, I think that's just a manifestation. I don't think she put a consciousness in the dead body. So no, I don't think the body's there. But again, could change my mind after we see the next episode. Casinema Reviews writes, so did no one think to try to get in touch with an Avenger when they... Thank you. I was thinking that same thing. I'll tell you what my thoughts were, though, in a second here. So did no one think to try and get in touch with an Avenger when they realized Wanda was involved? Call Bruce Banner or Doctor Strange or even Clint Barton. Thank you. I thought of that exact same thing. I'm like, okay, they're here on site. Clearly there's Wanda in there and there's Vision, two Avengers. I don't know. Maybe we try to get a hold of one of the Avengers? Maybe. Here's my one thought. The reason I don't think they have yet is because I believe, like, remember when Kat Dennings' character showed up, and I keep forgetting the character's name, but when she showed up, I think they'd only been there for a day, right? So I think everything we've seen has literally transpired over about a day, day and a half. So I think to them, they're still just assessing the situation. And maybe at some point they do reach out to an Avenger, which could give some credence to the theory that maybe Doctor Strange shows up. That's why I'm not saying that's a crazy theory. I don't think he will, but there's good reason to maybe think he might. If for those of you who think he will, that goes to it too. There's another argument for you. There's another thing to back up your argument. At some point, they're going to have to reach out to an Avenger. Why not Doctor Strange? It's a thought. All right. So, but anyway, I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that, Cinema. All right, a Fan of Peanuts writes, I really felt a lot happened too fast here in episode 4. It should have been a longer episode. Not that wanted to watch this too much longer, but so fast. It is fast. I mean, listen, the fact of the matter is, these are like half-hour episodes. Now look, and I've said this before, I am really enjoying it. They covered a lot of ground in episode 4, and I thought they did a great job with it. That said, I will kind of reiterate something I said before. I am all for the weekly release of episodes. I'm all for it. It's been, with studies, it's been proven the network gets a lot more benefit from releasing it 1 week at a time, and I think the fan community gets a hell of a lot more of it releasing one episode at a time. I'm a binger, but hey, listen, it's for a fan community, it's way better for them to release 1 week at a time. But I do wish, as good of a job as I think they're doing, and I felt the same way about Mandalorian, I do wish the weekly episodes were a little bit longer. You know, we wait for a week to get the new episode. Maybe it should be a little bit longer. And a lot of these premium channel shows will be like 8 to 12 episodes, fine, but they're usually 8 to 12 hour-long episodes. You know what I mean? So listen, and again, I think they did a great job. I thought even though it did feel very fast, I thought it was a very effective fast, but yeah, I mean, I do wish they would have put a little more into it, but that's just me. All right, next up, we've got Mike Thompson who writes, Monica finding out about her mom is another reminder of the tragedies of that the snap brought. Also, I was not prepared for zombie vision. I know that again, I said this yesterday. I am not one who ever gets shocked. Like, I'll be surprised and everything, but I'm never shocked watching a movie or TV show. Very, very rarely. Very, very rarely. But when we saw Dead Vision, that was stirring. But you're right. One of the tragedies of the snap wasn't just that, half the people, but, Monica's back. She missed the passing of her mother. There are going to be people who come back who find out that their children are no longer alive or their spouse moved on without them. I mean, that's something a lot of us joked about, right? When we saw Endgame, people come back, yay. What about all those awkward conversations? Because listen, you're married. If your spouse passes away or snapped away, there's no reason to believe they're coming back. After 5 years, you've got to expect and hope that they would begin to move on with their lives, maybe meet somebody else, maybe get married again. But all those awkward conversations after the unsnapping that the Hulk did of that. But you're right. It is a great reminder of a lot of the other tragedies and hardships caused by the snap. You're right about that, Mike. All right. Aces writes, any chance we see Wanda's dad, Magneto, in the show? I think that's pretty much a zero. Kevin Feige is going to introduce the X-Men soon, and what better way to usher them into the MCU? Nah. Remember, Kevin Feige had already mapped out WandaVision before he even knew they were going to have Fox. Everybody, we talked about this a bit yesterday too. Everybody forgets about that. Kevin Feige already had up to WandaVision and another year and a half, 2 years after WandaVision. He already had this all mapped out before he ever even knew that Disney was getting Fox, before he was ever even thought of it. So, and he said, when they did get Fox and everybody rushed to ask him the question, when you're bringing in X-Men, when you're bringing in X-Men, when you're bringing in Fantastic Four, when you're bringing in X-Men, he said, I got the next 5 years planned out. Once we get through that, we'll start looking at bringing in X-Men and Fantastic Four. And guess what? That was 2 years. That was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. It's crazy how fast time is flying, but that was 2017. And at the Disney announcement they just made, they just talked about Kevin Feige first revealed that we are now working on Fantastic Four. And we've got John Watt, who's the director of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. He's going to be the director of it, but guess what? He's still working on Spider-Man 3. This isn't going to come out for at least a couple of years. So guess what? When Fantastic Four comes out, it will have been 5 years. Since Kevin Feige said, we're not going to worry about this until after the existing 5-year plan. And so Fantastic Four will come out after that 5-year plan. And I still believe that's going to be the same thing with X-Men and everything. So, yeah, I do not expect that. Plus, you can't just retcon everything. They've already given, Pietro and Wanda their backstory about their parents. He wasn't Magneto. In this world, there was no Magneto because remember, so far, there are no mutants in the world at this point. So I could think of a million different ways that would be better to bring in the X-Men. And we're still going to have to wait probably a while for that. But again, I said it yesterday too. Kevin Feige can change his mind. He said 3 years ago, he said 5 years. And so far, he's been sticking to it. But he could change his mind. We'll find out. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, hi, Ann and John. What's both of y'all's favorite part? I mean, Ann is the 50s sitcom stuff. I can tell you that right now. Ann's favorite part is the 50s sitcom stuff. For me, it's Dark Wanda. It's the no Wanda. It's the, what did you just say? Wanda. It's the, you're a trespasser, Wanda. It's those moments when Wanda breaks character. That's the best part to me so far. Right. Bugatti85 writes, Go back to episode 2 and episode 3, B scene. You hear Wanda's two different no's. Episode 3, B scene, when Vision says Wanda, you hear her say a quick no, like, no, I'm not her. No, I got to disagree with you on that. I never once thought she was responding to him. She wasn't saying no to Vision, like, Wanda? Oh, no, sorry, you've got the wrong person. I listen, it's not the craziest theory, and maybe they'll say that goes somewhere, but for right now, I got to say, Bugatti, I never got that inclination at all. Like, no, I'm not her. I never got that. It's interesting. I haven't heard anybody else think of that, so it's interesting you're thinking that, but for now, I got to disagree. Let's see where they go with it. All right, thanks for that, Bugatti. All right, John Wadkin writes, Maria Rambeau's Terrestrial Protocol was likely down to her best friend vanishing and then daughter also, hoping Monica would return like Carol did. I know, honestly, I think it just sounds like common sense, right? Because, listen, you put into play a whole bunch of your astronauts, space traveling team, they're gone. Okay. Let's be prepared. If they come back, what are some protocols we're going to need to follow? And honestly, the idea of you've just missed 5 years of current events, 5 years of changing technology, 5 years of changing practices, like, and really understanding that if somebody just got unsnapped and find out they had been gone, that they had been wiped out of existence and are now back for 5 years, there's going to be a time of adjustment needed. And to me, it just sounded like Maria Rambeau put into place a very common sense, rational policy and protocol. Everybody who does come back, if we ever get them all back, but when they do, they're initially going to be grounded. They're initially going to be kept on world. And that sounds like it makes sense. So at least that's how I interpret it, John. That's how I interpret it. Thanks for writing that in. All right. Mizumia writes, did you notice when they were revealing the people's real names that were trapped in Westview, that there was no identity reveals for Agnes or Dottie? Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. You could see their picture, but no info. Thoughts? That's right. So far, and now one of the things I mistakenly said yesterday, and I'm going to see if I can find this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but I'll see if I can. One of the things that I mistakenly said yesterday was that they didn't have a dossier for Dottie. That they didn't have a dossier for Dottie. When in fact, they did have a dossier for Dottie. I didn't notice it. I just saw everybody else's. But they did have one for Dottie. However, here's the key. I should bring up a wider picture, but see, I hope you guys see my mouse here. Okay. In this little area right here, on all the other dossiers, under their picture is then a photocopy of their driver's license, like their actual real ID. Dottie, or Agnes, I should say, still doesn't have, they have the dossier of the character, they have the dossier of Agnes, but they don't have her actual ID yet. They don't have the actual ID. On all the other ones, the actual ID was there. So how does that come into play? What it tells me is that there's still more to know about Agnes. I still don't think she's Agatha Harkness, as a lot of people believe. It's possible, though. There are some hints they've given, so I'm not going to be surprised if she is. But I still don't think she's Agatha Harkness. I just think she has a bigger role to play in this, and that's why they're not tipping their hand on Agnes or Dottie yet at this point. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking. Anyway, thanks for saying that, or sharing that, Mizumia. All right, next up, we've got Mohammed Bakir, who writes, maybe Herb was going to say, because we're all dead, just like Vision. Maybe Wanda is using dead people so she wouldn't have to use living people. No, I don't think so, because that would, of course, mean that Wanda first killed everybody. And that's going to a whole new level of dark. Because all these people are alive. You notice when they're looking up all the IDs of actual people, they're real people. Not once have they said, oh, the person playing Herb is this guy who died 4 years ago. What? Like, they didn't do that, right? So If he was going to say we're all dead, well, then that means that Wanda killed them all in order to enact her fantasy. That's real dark. But not only dark, it's unnecessary. So I don't think that's the case. And if they had been deceased, that would have come up when SWORD did the research and found all the bios on all the actual people. You know, missing a little detail like, the person playing this character is Mr. Such and Such. Oh, and I forgot to mention they died 2 years ago. Like, that would be a big key piece of information for them to include in that, Muhammad. All right, thanks a lot for that. All right, Bob Ridge writes, number one, I've never been so creeped out by an aspect ratio change. I know the way we've seen the aspect ratio change done before. I don't know that I've ever seen done more effectively than here. So I agree with you on that, Bob. 2, I wonder how Monica survived being thrown. Powers? I don't think so. Hope your new home has thicker walls. 3, this show is so meta. Twins, what a twist. Yeah, what was with that? What a twist. I never did. I don't know if there's supposed to be like some more deeper meaning to that, like by using the word twist. I didn't think so. But I mean, honestly, I just don't know. And again, that's been another big question about, because Monica clearly, as a regular human being, if she's thrown through 3 sets of walls, you die. Your spine will shatter, your ribs will break, your internal organs will turn to mush. I mean, you're going to die. A human being can't be thrown through 3 walls and live. So does she have powers? I don't think so. Not yet. I think Monica Rambeau is going to be a character in Captain Marvel 2, and I think she'll probably get her powers there. I'm guessing she doesn't have her powers yet. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing she doesn't have her powers yet. But again, that's just a pure guess on my part. But again, Bob, I completely agree with you that I have never seen a more effective use of the aspect ratio change. I thought it was great. All right, next up. Mazumia also writes, just correction from my previous response. Dottie wasn't on the wall. I thought I saw her. My bad. Yeah, maybe her dossier picture wasn't even up there at all. I thought maybe it was, but it might not be up there at all. But the key thing, though, is Agnes's is, but it's the only one on the wall that doesn't have the ID underneath that. So thanks for the follow-up on that, Muzumia. All right, Trashy Gamer writes, if people came back to the same spot, what happened to those who were in airplanes? Wouldn't they be in a plane or appear in the cloud? Would they be in a plane or appear in the clouds? Somebody asked that exact same question yesterday or on yesterday's episode. But again, these are conversations that happened right after Endgame. I mean, after Endgame, everybody was talking about, so what happened to people who dusted while they were in a helicopter or on an aeroplane? Well, what I believe the MCU would do is, let's say you were sitting in seat 4A when you got snapped out of existence, 50,000 or 20,000 feet above New York City. I don't think when you undust, they would have you reappear at that spot in the sky and then fall to your death. I think when you unsnapped, you were back in what seat did we say it was? Let's say it was seat 3A. If you were in seat 3A of that particular jumbo jet, when you got snapped, I bet you probably reappeared in seat 3A of that jumbo jet. Now, again, Kevin Feige may come out sometime and put that debate to rest in that discussion, but that's what I believe happened. Could be wrong. So what about all those people who are on cruise ships, who were on a cruise when they got snapped? Do they appear hovering 40 feet above the Atlantic Ocean and then just fall into the ocean and drown? Maybe. But again, I'm thinking they appeared in the spot they were relative to their context when they snapped. That's my guess. I'm sticking to it. All right. Thanks for that, Trashy Gamer. Next up, Carissa A. writes, they didn't identify Agnes when getting the identities. Do you think that adds to the theory that she is whatever the MCU version of Agatha Harkness is? I still don't think so. I still don't think so. But I said this in like week after episodes 1 and 2 as well, and maybe even after episode 3. Here's the thing. If you are somebody who has the theory that Agnes is actually WandaVision's version of the comic book character Agatha Harkness, there are valid pieces of evidence there to back up your theory. I still don't believe it, But you're not crazy for suspecting that, because I believe there are valid pieces of evidence there to create and to back up the theory. And I will say this, if you're looking for, coincidental evidence, then, or even just circumstantial, then the fact that she's the one character they haven't been able to identify yet, that's another, kind of piece of coincidental evidence that kind of backs up your theory too. Again, I still don't think she's Agatha Harkness, but there is, again, a body of coincidental, if not circumstantial evidence to back up such a theory. So I don't think you're crazy if you think that's her. And I'm not going to be shocked if we find out that it is, but for now, I still don't think it is. All right, thanks for that, Carissa. All right, Quentin Shibusawa writes, it's been 3 weeks since everybody came back. It's crazy how fast Wanda lost it after her and Clint had that talk at the funeral. Again, I would say this. I think we got our first glimpse of Wanda losing it in Endgame, when she's on the battlefield and she just decides to go at Thanos. And again, I've talked about this at length. I won't do it again, but one of the most spine-tinglingly frightening things I've ever heard said in a comic book movie were 2 words: you will. Thanos sees her. She says, you took everything from me, which is that's our first clue right there. When she yells at Thanos, you took everything from me. She's a woman who has nothing left. And he says, I don't even know who you are. And then she says the words, the most chilling, spine-tingling, creepy, scares me to death words I've ever heard in a comic book movie. You will. She says that to the Mad Titan. She says that to Thanos. I don't even know who you are. You will. That was our first glimpse of it. But we got our first real, tangible look at it at the end of Endgame, when she's having that conversation after Tony's funeral. Again, where was Black Widow's funeral? But when she's having that conversation with Hawkeye at the end of Tony's funeral, she wasn't right. We could tell. Go back and watch that ending. Watch that conversation. She's broken. She's broken already. She broke having to be the one to kill the love of her life with her own hands, only to see that sacrifice was for nothing because Thanos immediately brought him back and she got to watch the love of her life die again. Horrifically. With an alien titan driving his fingers into the head of her love and ripping the source of his life out. After she already had to kill him herself for the greater good. She's broken. And she's talking that conversation with Hawkeye. I'm telling you, she was broken. And so the jump from that conversation to what we get after saying, you took everything. I have nothing left. Everything I have loved is gone. My family, my brother, and I fell in love, and I had to kill him with my own hands and then watch you rip his head off or rip part of his head out. It's really not that big of a leap that person who's having that conversation with Hawkeye just a few days or a few short weeks later can't deal with the pain anymore and comes up with something to distract her, to make her forget, to take the pain away. And hence we got WandaVision. It's not that big of a stretch, man. It's not that big of a stretch. All right, thanks for sending that in, Quentin. All right, next up, Abel Leon writes, that shot of dead Vision has to be the most creepy shot in the MCU. The way he also talked was just downright horror. Again, because you're seeing this horrifying vision. Again, no pun intended. You're seeing this horrifying vision of Vision. And he looks horrifying. The dead eyes, the head ripped out, all the color gone. All that kind of stuff, that horrifying vision. And what makes it even more creepy is the fact that he's chatting with her so nonchalantly. What is it, dear? Or blah, blah, blah. Really? I can't remember what his dialogue was. I was so in shock. And I never shock. But I was so in shock. I can't remember, but I just remember it was just a kind of casual conversation. What's going on, dear? This horrific, nightmare-inducing vision And he's like, oh, what's good? Just talking so nonchalantly. Oh, dude, that just made Abel, I'm telling you, that just made that moment all the more creepy. All the more creepy to me. So anyway, that's me. All right, Abel also writes, also, I think the reason Monica was able to enter Wanda's force field and not the Jimmy Woo character is that she is grieving about her mother's sudden death the way Wanda is grieving about the death of Vision. See, I don't agree. Because then you have to ask the question, well, then how did Agent Franklin get in? The beekeeper. How did he get in? He was able to just walk right in. We haven't seen that energy field keep anybody out, right? We haven't seen it keep anybody out. And yes, Monica's grieving the loss of her mother, but everybody loses their parents at some point, right? And it's not like, remember, this is 3 weeks after the snap. This is 3 weeks. Monica's been back now for 3 weeks. And yes, she lost her mother. But there are lots of people in the world who lost their mother, you know? And again, I haven't seen any evidence in the show yet that field keeps anybody out. Monica tried to go in, and she was able to go in. We've only seen one other person try to go in. Agent Franklin crawling down the sewers. Guess what? He was able to get in. Whatever happened to Agent Franklin, though? Was he made to be one of the people in town now? Did Wanda disintegrate him? Did she also throw him out? If so, they never referenced it. I think to me, that's one of the big questions now. What happened to Agent Franklin, the beekeeper? What happened to him? What horrific, terrible thing did Wanda do to him? I want to know the answer to that. All right, next up. It's All Groovy just sent in a $20 super chat just to be supportive. Thank you, It's All Groovy. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate the support. All right. Next up, Craig Farrell writes, who also tipped in like $20, writes, in Captain America, The First Avenger, we're told that Hydra/Nazis are obsessed with the occult. Could Hydra have recruited Agnes/witches to summon Mephisto to try to control Wanda for her twins? Hydra loves twins. Well, I mean, number one, there were no twins. Remember, right before WandaVision, there was no twins. Number two, I really think that Marvel is Hydra'd out. I mean, how many times are you going to go back to Hydra? They've done it so many times, not just in the movies, but I mean, also like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra kept coming back and oh, look, it's Hydra again. Oh, look, it's Hydra again. And I think it's time to move past that. The Mephisto thing, again, I don't think Mephisto's here. Although, again, much like the other thing we were talking about, there is some supporting evidence there that it could be Mephisto, maybe. I find it unlikely, not impossible, unlikely that Disney on Disney Plus would have their first MCU Disney Plus show have the big villain Satan in there, which is what he's known by. He's not the actual devil, but he is known as Satan. He is a demon from hell. He's known as Satan. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. Then again, if you had asked me before WandaVision started, what do you think about us seeing a walking, talking corpse of Vision? Oh, I might have thought, dude, that's a little too dark, a little too bleak. And here we are. We've got it, right? So no, I don't think it's Hydra. I don't think it's Mephisto. There could be elements in there, but who knows? Hey, listen, Craig, we'll find out. Episodes 5's coming. We all have our theories changing and evolving as we go episode by episode. I thought from the beginning it wouldn't be Hydra. I have not believed from the beginning that there was going to be Mephisto. But ask me again after episode 5, because I could have a totally different point of view by then, man. And I might see things exactly your way, Craig. All right, man. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. It's an interesting take you've got there. All right. Fred Lozano writes, notice how Monica's clothes change when she enters the bubble, but don't change back when she exits. You know it? No, I have not thought about that. Apparently reality changes in the inside, but they last on the outside. That is a really good point. Because like when Agent Franklin crawls in there, right? His hazmat scientific suit changes to a beekeeper of the time. Even his lifeline umbilical thing changed into like a skipping rope. When Monica goes in, we can only assume her clothes changed when she went in. We didn't actually see the moment she entered that world, but I think it's safe to assume that her clothing and outfit probably changed. After all, the sword drone goes in and it changed. But yeah, when Monica comes out, it doesn't change back. That's interesting. I wonder if that will become more important as the show progresses. Good observation, Fred, on that. I had not thought of that. That's an excellent observation. All right, next up. Abel Leon writes, a character that not many people are mentioning is Quack Guy. He has been a very influential person to Wanda. Won't be surprised if he shows up at the end. Quack Guy. I am not... okay, I'm going to assume... Okay, I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to assume you're using voice dictation on something. I think you probably meant Hawkeye? Because yes, in the MCU, Hawkeye has been very influential. Obviously, we were just talking about... Okay, I'm going to assume Quack Guy is Hawkeye unless there's some Quack Guy character I'm not even thinking about. Let's go with Hawkeye. We were just talking about how... First of all, we know in Age of Ultron, like he's the one who brings her in, right? And then, of course, at the end of Endgame, he's the one that she's talking to, and they're having that deep heart-to-heart conversation, and that's all important and significant. And yes, and let's not forget, Hawkeye has his own Disney Plus show coming up. They're shooting it right now, so I think it's very reasonable to think that we could see Hawkeye pop in. I think there's a much better chance that we see Quack Guy, or Hawkeye. I think there's a bigger chance we see him than Doctor Strange. Because you're right, there is that character. Listen, if this season ends with her having to be talked down or else kill thousands, what character could do it better than Hawkeye could? Other than maybe Vision, but the real Vision isn't there, so I think. So yes, Hawkeye would be an absolute logical choice. All right, next up. Fred Lozano writes, Agnes was the only person on the list that didn't have a driver's license. We were just talking about that. That didn't have his driver's license on the board. Maybe she is the witness. Greetings from Colombia. I battle with cancer and your show comforts me since the Collider days. Oh man, I'm glad. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of that. That is so humbling and honoring to hear, and keep battling, man. Our own Erin Cummings, who is a regular guest on my show, she is a cancer survivor. She has battled cancer, and thanks for that, and thank you for the honor of letting us come along with you since those days, Fred. Listen, that's a good point. Except Sword, it doesn't matter who's in witness protection. Sword would have access to that information. Actually, if anybody would know, it's Jimmy Woo. Because Jimmy Woo, he's specific there looking for his witness protection person. So if anybody would have known, it probably would have been Jimmy right away, right? So I don't think Agnes is the person in witness protection, but as we talked about right off the top, I don't think whoever is the one in witness protection is relevant. They may reveal who it is, but I'm guessing it's going to be another just inconsequential thing. I don't think it's going to play an important role in this, but we will see where that goes. Thanks for sharing that, Fred. And again, thanks for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. All right. Next up, Benjamin GL writes, anyone else rewatch Ant-Man 2 just for the Randall Park? I mean, right? First rewatch is way better than I thought. It weirdly feels like part 1 of WandaVision. I have not watched Ant-Man 2 since WandaVision started. It's been a while. I didn't like Ant-Man 2. Let me rephrase. I quite enjoyed Ant-Man 2. I did not like it as much as I liked Ant-Man 1. I thought Ant-Man 2 was great, but I liked Ant-Man 1 better. But one of the things that is definitely a highlight is Randall Park. It's the Jimmy Woo character. And of course, again, we've talked about before, when he introduces himself to Monica Rambeau, he does the card trick that Scott showed him. Pull that, right? Great little reference back to that. But no, now that you mention it, I kind of feel like I want to go back and watch Ant-Man 2 again. It's been a beat since I've watched Ant-Man 2. I think I will have to go back and watch it again. Thank you for putting that on my radar, Benjamin. All right, next up. Chris Lane Venturi 3D writes, congrats on the move. Thank you so much. WandaVision is getting better and better. I agree. I think it continues to get... listen, I saw the first episode and I'm like, okay, I like this. This is cute. It's original. It's different. I didn't love it, but I'm like, yeah, this is cute and fun and charming. And yeah, it's real nice. I like it. I didn't love it. No, my wife loved it though. My wife ate up that whole 50s thing amazingly. But I feel like every episode to me has gotten better and better and better. So I am with you on that, Chris. And yes, so far, very much enjoying the house. Once we got everything unpacked, we're going to have to give you guys a house tour. I'll do like a little vlog and I'll show you guys a little tour of the place. But we're very happy so far. Thank you for that, Chris. Next up, Jay Meister writes, you two are YouTube's movie power couple. I'm sure you're referencing me and Ann. Yeah, it's great. And again, I can't be prouder of my wife. I mean, when I met Ann, she was the political field rep for the congresswoman in Orange County, for Orange County's congresswoman at the time. And she was like the political field rep for her. And so I love intelligent people. And Ann is hyper intelligent, hyper smart. She went on then to work in the health industry in a very prominent role. And then, you know, she got hired. She's gone on to do major project management for Hasbro and then for Amazon. And now she starts on Monday. She starts this Monday. She's going to be, I think, what is it? Like the worldwide readiness manager. Something along those lines. She's going to be basically responsible for like product launches for Apple, which is crazy. Working with Apple now. So I don't know. Does that mean I have to get an iPhone? I don't know. I love my iPad. I like my MacBook very much. But am I going to have to get an iPhone? I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, she's great. And I'm awfully lucky to have her, man. So thanks for sharing that, Jay Meister. All right, next up. Derek Thomas Pierce Phillips writes, hey, John and Ann. Ann's not here. By the way, everybody who tries to write in the name Ann, there is no E. No E on Ann, just so you know. Hi, John and Ann. Hope the move went well. The move went very well. Unpacking is ongoing. This episode totally confirmed my theory is that S.W.O.R.D. isn't keeping Wanda. It's Wanda keeping them out. Again, I don't even think she's keeping them out. I mean, yeah, S.W.O.R.D. isn't holding her prisoner. I never thought S.W.O.R.D. was holding her prisoner. Because even in the commercials, we hear Randall Park, Jimmy Woo's voice saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Right? But I also don't think she's keeping anybody out. Everybody, so far we've seen 2 people and drones try to go in. And every time they try to go in, they're able to go in. No problem. Getting out might be the problem, but nothing is keeping them from going out. Anyway, thanks for that, Derek. All right, Hank Jones writes, okay, I see what Vision did. He was testing her when he said, we can go wherever we want. He's going to keep his suspension to himself. Probably meant suspicion. He's probably going to keep his suspicion to himself until he figures out what's going on. Yes, we could see by the end of episode 4, Vision is now transferred to being, maybe a better way to put it is he's transitioned now from being, he's now dubious. He now knows something's wrong. And he now suspects Wanda knows something wrong and isn't sharing it with him. And now he's got to keep it to himself because the moment he lets on to Wanda that he's figuring out something's wrong, boom, she resets him. She resets everything and puts everything back to the way she wants it to be. Right? So now he's keeping it to himself. The fake smile he does at the end, oh, that was creepy. So totally creepy, but so totally effective too at the same time. It was all kinds of great. I loved it. All right. Thanks for that, Hank. Next up. And I think you're completely right. I think you're absolutely 100% right on that, Hank. All right. David McDonald writes and sends in like a $50 super chat. Thank you, David, for supporting our channel on that level, man. That's very generous of you. Thank you, dude. David McDonald writes, hey, John, I love your show. Thank you so much. I myself am an aspiring film/TV geek with my own channel. How do you think this will impact Spider-Man 3? Do you think that the resolution of this will cause a rift in reality rather than resolving it? I don't think this is going to alter reality. What I do think is, it is impossible to tell how WandaVision will impact Spider-Man 3 when right now we don't even know how WandaVision resolves, right? We're not even halfway through the show yet. We're only on episode 4. So once we see WandaVision is in its entirety, then we can start working on theories about how will this play into and affect the upcoming Spider-Man 3. Until we know what we've got with WandaVision, it's going to be hard to say. But I will repeat what my one working theory is right now. So let me just see. Set pics. Let me see if I can find this picture. I'm not sure I can. Oh, I think I have found it. 1 second. Let me see if I can find a better version of it here. Nuts. I can't find it. Spider-Man 3 set pics poster board. Let me see if I got to see if I can find this so I can bring it up. And okay, I can't find the main one I'm looking for. But let me bring this up because I had it on the show. Some of you guys might remember this. Okay, let me see if I can get this up here for you guys. All right, so we see in the Spider-Man 3 pics, right? There's this poster board up with all types of flyers, like Mysterio's, I believe, and then a couple of Defend Spidey ones. But here's the thing. When you see the full picture of this bulletin board, right? The full picture of it, the majority of the flyers posted to the board are for those of missing children. For those of missing children. Now, some people may say, oh, that must be from the snap. But remember, by the time we get to Spider-Man 3, a long time has passed since the snap and the unsnapping. A long time has passed. And the posters that go up on these billboards, they get swapped out constantly. So I think all these missing children billboards, and again, I have nothing to back this up with. This is just me with my crazy theory. It's all it is, crazy theory. But my theory on this right now is that I think those billboards are telling us that missing children is part of the story. And what if those missing children have something to do with Wanda? Some people have a theory that Wanda has brought children into that world, maybe. But then somebody gave a much darker theory to this, which I don't want to believe, but there might be something to it. So one of our viewers wrote in with this theory that what if once this whole illusion of Wanda's, it just falls apart and her kids aren't real. And so she loses her kids. What happens if that breaks her even more? And what if she decides, if I can't have my kids, nobody can have their kids? And like all the children are just destroyed. They vanish. It's Wanda's own version of the snap. Taking away everybody's children. Now again, that would be a hyper dark turn for WandaVision to take. A hyper dark turn. Do I think they're going to go that dark? No, but I didn't think they would go as dark as showing us, the corpse, a talking corpse of Vision either. So, I mean, I don't know. But again, that's just a current working theory. Really, though, that theory has to be thrown out almost immediately because we got to get to the end of WandaVision first before we see it for sure. But that's kind of where my head is at right now. I don't think there's going to be a big altering of reality. I don't think they're doing that. But, I mean, that's certainly possible too. But right now, I think it more has to do with for the children. I think it's going to be for the children. I think this is going to be about the kids. And if anything, I think that Spider-Man set pick might be our connection to WandaVision. But again, I reserve the right to totally throw that theory out and introduce a new theory after seeing episode 5 and again with episode 6. But that's kind of where my head's at right now, David, because we can't get a real solid set of theories until we get to the end of WandaVision. But it's a great question, and it's good to see your thinking head. Again, thanks for supporting our channel on that level, David. Really appreciate it, man. And let's keep watching. All right. Next up, D-Men05 writes, I wish I was wrong about her using her man's corpse. Again, I don't think she is. I don't think she is. I don't think his corpse is still just sitting around 5 years later, where she could just grab it and bring it along and blah, blah. And she can just manifest him if she wants. So I don't think it's actually his corpse. Might be, though. Again, I reserve the right to change my theory after seeing episode 5 because my theories are evolving episode by episode. All right. Yasmar Hidalgo writes, they showed Monica's badge deactivated at Sword HQ, so we'd seen she wears it around her neck. In the bubble, the badge became a sword charm. Ooh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. It's like, why was she? Maybe the sword symbol was a communication device, blah, blah. No. She didn't go in there with that. Unless like her ID badge was just covering up her sword necklace because she's grown up with sword, basically, right? But I like what you're saying there, Yasmar. That's true. What if she went through and her sword ID badge got turned into the sword emblem on her neck? Which may be why she herself was a little surprised to see it. I haven't even thought about that. You just introduced a new element of that to me. Well done, Yasmar. Well done, sir. A+ writing indeed. All right. Next up, Mr. 47 writes, you could feel the despair when Vision said to Wanda, we can go anywhere. And Wanda said, no, we can't. Wanda's tone was scary, but also fearful. Yep. And also, again, more than anything else, trying to keep herself fooled, more than anything else, trying to keep Vision fooled. This show, listen, we said from episode 1 and 2, this show's not going to end well. There's not going to be a happy, triumphant end to this, like a medal ceremony at the end of Star Wars. This is going to end badly. And we are just growing more and more aware about how this is going to be tragic. And I still think more and more this is going to be, Vision is ultimately going to be the one that needs to end this, but we'll see what happens. Or at least this iteration of Vision. Min Tran writes, do you think sitcom format next episode? Yes, but like I said before, I think we are now done where the entire episode is all the sitcom. I think now for the rest of the episodes, we're going to be going back and forth between, outside of the energy field and inside of the energy field. But we definitely know the sitcom format's going to continue to progress. All right, Ali Hussein writes, we got a lot of answers, but we still have a lot of questions. This episode was awesome. Again, we were talking about this before, that one of the hallmarks of this being such a great show is the fact that every single episode, as we're moving forward, they're giving a little bit more information and then introducing new questions. And in this episode, we got a lot of answers, but new questions to replace the answers at the same time. That is good writing. You can't just have a question, answer all the questions, and then for 3 or 4, have no mystery for the next 3 or 4 episodes. You can't just do question after question after question without giving any answers along the way. That's not satisfying as an audience. You answer questions while introducing new questions. That's good writing, and that's totally what they've done here. So I agree with you, Ali. All right, next up. Thomas Westrop Bennett writes, did you notice the assistant director's office wall? His certificates were arranged in the shape of a hexagon. He's bad news. Ooh. I don't know that hexagon is necessarily a bad thing in this case. What's going on with the hexagons, but I did not notice that. I can't remember his answer. Sorry, not his answer. I can't remember his real name. I cannot remember his real name. But no, listen, there are a lot of people growing in their theory that this assistant director is not on the up and up, which maybe it is a trope that's been done a lot, though. Like, even in the MCU, like, just go to Winter Soldier. It's like, oh, the head guy, like, even above Nick Fury, the head guy of S.H.I.E.L.D., Robert Redford, oh, he's bad. Oh, now we find out the head guy of S.W.O.R.D., oh, he's bad. They've done it before. And lots of other shows do that, where you find out that ultimately the end of the mystery is the head guy in charge is the one who's the bad guy. It's a proven trope, and it might be what they're doing here. I kind of hope they don't, but it could be. And there's a growing number of fans that are becoming suspicious that he is indeed involved. I'm still not sold on that, but it could be. And I don't know if his thing's being shaped as a hexagon or anything. But again, I didn't catch it myself. I'll have to go back and watch it though, Thomas. Thanks for sharing that. You give me another little thing to look for there. All right. Next up, D-Man05 writes, what an episode. Wow. And how awesome is having Darcy back. That's Kat Dennings' character. Love having her back. Got those good Thor 1 vibes instantly. Listen, I just love that character. I love her wit, her humor, her personality type, the kind of innocent, geeky snarkiness to her at the same time. Like that whole opening line too, when she's in the truck with the other scientists and then the other guy finally says, I'm actually a microbiologist. She goes, nobody cares. I mean, I just love that. She is great. I love that now she's watching WandaVision, eating popcorn and chips and getting invested. And she's going, oh, when she sees what, I mean, I just love this character. I think she's truly, and that's why I think I might have been the only guy in the world who got super excited when I found out she was coming back to the MCU for WandaVision. I was so excited about that, and I am super, super glad that she's there. I love Kat Dennings. All right, guys, and that will wrap up part 2 of the spoiler discussion for WandaVision episode 4. As you can imagine, there's still a lot of things going on around the house here and requires my assistance, so I need to go and help her. But tomorrow will be part 3, and we will get the rest of these cleared up. I promise you we will get through all of them, and we are going to get through all of them. We'll just pick this one. So we will have part 3 of this video tomorrow, so keep your guys' eyes open for that. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. Deeply appreciate it. We're going to get more into WandaVision here on tomorrow's part 3. Thanks a lot for sending in the question, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Until the next time, my name's John Campea, and until then, my friends, bye-bye.